whenever we are executing any of the program in between part of that program, or else whenever the program is running or execution state, then it is called as a process. Process is also known as an instance of the program in execution. Whatever the part of the program is executing, that is called as a process. Multiple instances of the same program can execute simultaneously. Multiple parts of your program can execute at the same time. Okay. A process requires various system resources like CPU for executing the process, memory for storing the code corresponding to the process and associated variables, IO devices for information exchange, etc. Here, for whenever we are processing or doing any execution of the program, always you need a CPU for execution and memory for the storage of your code and execution, and associated variables, what all the inputs we have, what all the outputs we have to get from the execution, all those things are needed, and IO devices for information exchange. All those things are needed whenever the process is running. A process is sequential in execution, always it is a sequential in execution. And the concept of process leads to concurrent execution, that is pseudo parallelism of task, and thereby the efficient utilization of the CPU and other system resources will be taken care. And concurrent execution is achieved through the sharing of CPU among the processes. Concurrent execution you can do if we are dividing the main program into a 2 or 3 parts, and parallelly you can execute them in the CPU if we are sharing the CPU separately for each and every process. A process mimics a processor in properties and holds a set of registers, process status, a program counter to point to the next executable instruction of the process, a stack for holding the local variables associated with the process, and the code corresponding to the process. Overall, the process mimic of a process has a properties with register values, and process status will be there, program counter will be there, and you will be having instructions of the process, stack for holding the local variables. All those things are needed, and it can be visualized as shown in the figure. You can see process is one whole consideration is there here. It whenever you are executing the process, it will be having the stack with the stack pointer, working register to execute your program. Whenever you are executing the program or whenever the task is running, always working register should be there, and status register to show in what status the program is running, and you will be having program counter to point out for the next instruction which has to be executed in the process, and code memory corresponding to the process related to that process where the code is stored, that you can take it as code memory corresponding to the process. And a process which inherits all the properties of the CPU can be considered as a virtual processor, awaits in turn to have its properties switched into the physical processor. And when the process gets its turn, its register and the program counter register become mapped to the physical register of the CPU. Whenever you are running your program, process can be continuously, you can align them in the queue, whichever is ready and which is having the highest priority will come into the execution state. And whenever it is coming to the execution state, its register, what all the registers are needed, what how program counter will be working, all those things will be mapped to the physical register in the actual CPU. And then from the memory perspective, the memory occupied by the process is segregated into 3 regions. One is stack memory, another one is data, and another one is code memory. You can see that in the figure, that is stack memory and data memory and code memory. Where stack memory holds all the temporary data such as variables local to the process. Whenever you are executing the program or whenever the process is running, at that time whatever the temporary data are there, means while first one line is executed, intermediate one data you got, and that will be a input for some other instruction in the same program. Then you have to store those values in some memory area that you can take it as a that you will be storing it in stack memory. Okay, then data memory holds all global data for the process. All global data which is needed for the execution of your whole program is taken into data memory, and you can take it from there. And code memory contains the program code or instructions corresponding to that process, that is shown here. And the process traverses through a series of states during its transition from a newly created state to the terminated state. Always you will be having so many steps on so many transition states of your process. First, whenever you are starting your process, then it will be newly created, and whenever the execution of that process is done, then you will be taking it as a terminated state. The cycle through which a process changes its state from newly created to execution completed is known as process life cycle. Life cycle means whenever it is created, it will start, and whenever it is execution is ended, it will end. That is the process life cycle. The various states through which a process traverses through during a process life cycle indicates the current states of the process, and with respect to time, and also provides the information on what it is allowed to do next. Means in whatever the creation and end of the process is there, in between that you will be having the states of the process execution. If any level, in any level, if you want to check the status of your process, that will be the current state of status of your process execution. Okay, the transition of the process from one state to another state is known as state transition, and figure represents the various states. Here you can see created means at the time of initialization of your process, creation will be done, and inserted into memory, and it will be in the ready state as and when the execution of the your main process is needed, then it is in the ready state. And then scheduler for the execution, as and when the uh, running state or your execution part is ready, then you can take the program which is present in your ready queue and you can schedule them for the execution. At the time of execution, it will be in the running state. If any interrupts occurs, if any external interrupt occurs, if any internal interrupts occurs, that interrupt will stop the execution of your process, and then interrupted part or interrupted part of your main program which was running previously, that will go to ready state. It will get preempted from the running state and it will go back to ready state. Okay, and in the running state, if it is waiting for the input outputs, okay, if it is waiting for the input output values, input means if any resource your data it want to get for execution, or it has to get for execution, then it will be waiting for the value. Okay, and if you, the output has to be stored in some amount of memory area, that for that memory also it will be waiting. For that you can take it as a waiting for IO resources. Waiting for the shared resources also, uh, if one program, two programs are running parallelly, one program or one process is taking the data from or resource from A. Okay, and the second one is also waiting for the same A resource. It can't directly take from there. That's why it will be in a waiting state. In that way you can take it as example. And if those if running state programs are waiting, then you can't be in the same running state because you are waiting for some other values. At that time you will be in the blocked state. As and when the input output values or shared resource value is available for your program, then from the blocked state you will go again for the ready state, and then you can go for the scheduling for the execution and then run your program. After completion of your execution of the program, execution completion, the completed state will be running. The state at which a process is being created is called as created state. The operation system recognizes a process in the create state, but no resources are allocated at this process. At this stage, you won't be knowing what resources have been allocated for your process. Okay, the state where a process is incepted into the memory and awaiting the process time for execution is known as ready state. See, the process is incepted already in the memory and waiting for the process time for execution, then it is in the ready state. In this stage, the process is placed in the ready list queue maintained by the operating system. The state where in the source code instructions corresponding to the process is being executed is called as running state. If the program or process is running, it is taken as running state. Running state is the state at which the process execution is happening. Next we have blocked state or wait state. Blocked or wait state refers to a state where a running process is temporarily suspended from execution and does not have immediate access to the resources. That is temporarily you are running or process, whatever the process is running, it has been suspended because the process is waiting for some amount of data or some resources. The blocked state might be invoked by various conditions, like the process enters a wait state for an event to occur. Example, waiting for the user input such as keyboard inputs. Okay, that is an example. Waiting for getting access to the shared resources is also waiting for. A state where the process completes its execution is known as completed state. All those things we have seen. And next we will go with process management, where process management deals with the creation of the process, setting up the memory space for the process, loading the process code into the memory space, allocating the system resources, and setting up the process control block for the process, and process termination or deletion. All these things are managed by process management part. Next we have threads. A thread is a primitive that can execute the code. A thread is a single sequential flow of control within a process. If I am taking the whole process or whole program, within that you have a one sequential flow of control, that is a single sequential flow of control. It is taken as one thread. Thread is also known as lightweight process. A process can have many threads of execution. Different threads which are part of the process share the same address space, meaning they share the same data memory, code memory, and heap memory area. And threads maintain their own thread status, that is CPU register values, and program counter and stack. If you have, see, if your main program is there, if you are dividing those programs in the smaller parts with the proper single sequential flow of control is there, then you can take it as one, take it that as one thread, and each and every thread will be having its own CPU register values and program counters and stack. The memory model for the process and its associated threads can be seen here. Stack memory for thread 1, stack memory for thread 2 in this way, and data memory for process and code memory for process. You can take the stack memory separately for the process. And concept of multi-threading. A processor task in embedded application may be complex or lengthy one, and it may contain various sub operations like getting input from the IO devices connected to the processor, performing some internal calculation or operations, updating some IO devices, etc. All those things you can do with the process. And if all the sub functions of the task are executed in sequence, the CPU utilization may not be efficient. See, if you are continuously or sub functions of the task are executing in sequence, means one task is executed. After the completion of this task only, you are going to execute the next task. In that way, if you are executing, it will take too much amount of time, and also it won't utilize your CPU efficiently. For example, if the process is waiting for the user input, the CPU enters to the wait state for the event, and the process execution also enters to the same wait state. That's why multi-threading or multitasking or multi programming is important. Instead of this single sequential execution of the whole process, if the task or process is split into different threads carrying out the different sub-functionalities of the process, like I can tell you, whatever the program we are writing in the C or your hardware programming, in that you will be having the functions. Okay, those functions you will be calling whenever the program is needed with related to that. That's why you can split the programs into single sequential execution parts, and if the task or process is split into different threads carrying out the different sub functionalities of the process, the CPU can be efficiently utilized, and when the thread corresponding to the IO operation enters the wait state, and another threads which do not require the IO event for their operation can be switched into execution. Then this leads to more speedy execution of the process and the efficient utilization of process time and resources also done. If the process is split into multiple threads which executes a portion of the process, and there will be a main thread and rest of the threads will be created within the main thread. The multi-thread threaded architecture of the process can be better visualized with the thread process diagram. You can see here. Code memory and data memory is same for everything. Thread 1, thread 2 and thread 3 is taken. Here you can see in thread 1 the main program or main program will be running. In that you have called for thread 1 and thread 2. Okay, and also thread 3 you will be calling, and each and every thread are sub functions. Okay, that sub functions you can see here, thread 2 and thread 3. Okay, you can align them in this format, that process with the multi threads. Okay, and then use of multi threads to execute a process brings the following advantages, that is better memory utilization, speedy execution of the process and efficient CPU utilization. If better memory utilization is multiple threads of the same process share the address space of the for data memory, and this also reduces the complexity of inner thread communication since variables can be shared across the threads. As many threads are divided in the from the main program, the data and code memory is same, only with related to your task threads are divided. That's why easily you can interchange the data from one thread to another thread using the data memory. Speedy execution is, since the process is split into different threads, when one thread enters to the wait state, the CPU can be utilized by other threads of the process that do not require the event which the other thread is waiting for the processing. And efficient CPU utilization, the CPU is engaging all the time. Thread standards are, thread standard deals with the different standards available for the thread creation and management. Thread standards will give you how to create the threads and how to manage the threads. These standards are utilized by the operating system for thread creation and thread management. It is set of thread class libraries. The commonly available thread class libraries are POSIX threads and Win32 threads and Java threads. POSIX, that is stands for the Portable Operating System Interface. Portable Operating System Interface X. The POSIX 4 standard deals with the real-time extension, and A stands for the thread extensions. Okay, and POSIX standard library for thread creation and management is pthreads. Okay, pthreads library defines the set of POSIX thread creation and management function in C language. You can see here an example. Pthread created that with the name, thread ID and constant pthread attributes, and void your start function, void argument. This primitive creates a new thread for running a function, that is start function, and here thread underscore t is the handle to the newly created thread, and pthread attributes t is the data type for holding the thread attributes. What all the thread attributes are there, what type of data attributes or data type you are storing in that memory area. And the start function is the function the thread is going to execute, and arguments is the arguments from start function. On successful creation of pthread associates the thread control block. Here you can see TCB is same for thread control block and also for your task control block also. That's why you should see what in the question paper you have what, for what reason they are asking related to the thread or task. Okay, that you have to see and write it for the answer. Corresponding to the newly created thread to the variable of type pthread underscore t, new thread id is in our example. Here you can see in pthread join thread t, new thread is generated and thread status has to be represented. This primitive blocks the current thread and waits until the completion of the thread pointed by it, that is new thread in the example. All the POSIX thread calls returns an integers. A return value of 0 indicates the success of the call. Writing a multi-thread application to print hello, I am in main thread, from the main thread, and hello I am in the new thread 5 times each using the pthread create and pthread join. You can see how to write that one. Headers are included, studio library, std library, stdio and pthread for the creation of your threads. Okay, new thread function for printing the hello I am in new thread. Go for void new thread, and I comma j is integer variables for. In the for loop 5 times we need, as the question also question times tells, that is 5 times you have to execute it. That's why printf hello I am in the new thread, and for delay is provided for some amount of time, and then go back once again to this new thread program only. And in the main thread int main, that is pthread tcb, that is your thread creation control block has been generated. In that tcb null and new thread and null as included. Error in creating the new thread, if any problem occurs then error has to be displayed, return go back to the -1, and 5 times you have to execute the hello I am in main thread. That's why it's the same for loop will be used here. If pthread join tcb and null is informed, the error in the thread joining, if any if you are not getting hello I am in main thread, then automatically it will be in the error section, that you can see here. POSIX threads, the termination of the thread can happen in different way, that is natural termination, forced termination. The thread completes its execution and returns to the main thread through a simple return or by executing the pthread exit call. You can do any of these two. You can return to the main thread, or else you can go for the pthread exit. Means you will be coming out of the execution process. Then forced termination is this can be achieved by the call pthread cancel or through the termination of the main thread with exit or execute function. Thread cancel call is used by the thread to terminate another thread. Thread preemption is the act of preempting the currently running thread. It means stopping the currently running thread temporarily. And thread preemption is performed by sharing the CPU time among all the threads. Whatever the time is shared by the CPU towards the thread, with respect to that also preemption will be done. The execution switching among the thread is known as thread context switching. From one thread to another thread, if you are shifting from one to another one, then it is called as thread context switching. Thread context switching is dependent on the operating system scheduler and the type of the thread. Always this context switching will be dependent on the scheduler and the type of the thread. User level threads, that is user level threads do not have kernel operating system ones.